good Friday morning. It is a beautiful rainy day. It is a day that is long overdue here in St. Kitts. And Nevis, it's raining, not cats and dogs. It's really raining on the outside. It is so beautiful to see that rain come down. It's not in torrents yet, but it's a slow, steady, white rain kind of effect. So we know this kind of rain is going to last for some time. You're in tune to Win FM 98.9 on your radio dial. It's about that time, the time when we air Your Views. Your Views is a program that is aired on Win FM every Friday morning at 10 o'clock. It's a program where you can share your views, and I would share my views. It's a program where we try to keep it real and try to keep the information that we bring to you as truthful and as factual as possible. We do hope that sometimes we give you a chance, like today, you're going to get a chance to call in. It's a program that I'm going to really open the lines today because it's the discussion that we are going to have. We definitely need to know how you feel as a people. You are affected. So we want to know how you feel. We are hearing from the politicians, and we are hearing from on other media stations. We're hearing from some people how they feel about the situation, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going to be affected. My name is Sandra Quilly Atherton. I am usually the host for Your Views, and I'm that this morning. And like I said, we are going to discuss situation that we are facing here in St. Kitts. We're talking about world issues and how we are going to be affected by them more sooner than later. Not more sooner than later, because you're already being affected by it. And so what I want is people's honest opinion. I mean, your honest opinion, people will think sometimes it's biased, but it's the way you feel, and people have to learn to respect that. It's not being biased. People are affected different ways by different politicians. So people have to say how they feel, and we would ask that you can respect each feelings, because that is how, just like you have a right to feel the way you feel, it's the same way other people have the rights to feel the way they feel. And that's the world that we're living in. It's the unfortunate situation. When we look at wars and we look at it's the differences in opinion. When we look at chaos, it's differences in opinion. And that is how we were made up from the inception. We have had wars, we have had chaos, we have had troubles, because we are different, we think differently, we see things differently. It's amazing sometimes. We have done this test before. I remember when I used to go to school, it's the way you interpret things. We have to have this thing where a story is told and everybody has to say what the moral of the story, or what they got from listening to the story summarized. And it's amazing that all of us would have listened to the same story. But when we look at the summary and people's perception and interpretation of what the story was saying, it is completely different. And that is how the world is today. And we have to understand that people are different. It doesn't mean that we have to hate each other. It doesn't mean that we have to be enemies. It's that everybody has a right and is entitled to his or her opinion. Remember that. Just like how you are entitled to your opinion, I suppose everybody else is entitled to their opinion. My interpretation, the way I interpret things, might be totally different to the way you see things or interpret things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way or the wrong way. It's how one is affected by the situation. And so we have to learn to understand that. I've seen too many people fall out over politics. At the end of the day, politicians use us for their convenience. And it's surprise to see some of them who are cursing out each other, then they're shaking hands and they're hugging and they're good friends. And the sad thing about it, though, is that because they would have satisfied the purpose, their purpose, it can happen normally, but people like us who would have created broken families and good friendships over politics, it's not necessary. We need to stop that. Like I said, everybody is entitled to his or her opinion. So let's look at what's happening to us. But before I do that, I want to recognize people who are mourning, and I want to send my condolences out to those people who are mourning at this time, who would have lost their loved ones. I know how difficult it is when you would have lost a loved one, and understand that this is not final. Death is a cycle, just like life is. It completes the cycle of life. We don't know what happens after death. People assume, Christians think that you go to the grave and you await judgment. The Hindus believe that you're reincarnated and you come back in another soul. For me, I think the soul is immortal and it would go on forever. Where do we go from here? I have read and I've listened and I've been exposed to different opinions of where the soul goes to. Am I convinced? Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I feel like I'm convinced, and later on I question. So I think that's one of the complexity of the human, and why we do the things that we do, because we are yet to understand who we are and why we are here. It is what it is. We have to ask the Almighty again. That again is another perplexed situation, because to some people, God is there's one God. Others think there is many gods. And it's just what we were taught and exposed to. And I'm saying this because it's going to bring us right to the problems that we are facing here. You grow up going to Sunday school, understanding that God, Heavenly Father, God is the Almighty God. And then you have Jesus. To some Christians, Jesus is God, and some others, Jesus is a God. You read the Bible, and in the Bible, he says, let us, meaning he was talking to other people, but people's interpretation is totally different. And so you have that problem, and then people complain, oh, you're serving the wrong God, and oh, you're serving. We don't know. And it's just, if I am comfortable, and that's why I yield and I live based on how my conscience, I'm guided by my conscience, the inner God in me. That is the God that dwells within me. It's the breath that he lent us. My consciousness is my God's consciousness. And so you live a life pleasing to that, making sure that you do not do things that affects your conscience or outside of your conscience, and things, everything will be okay. Okay. Now, what is happening in St. Kitts? It is amazing how we have gotten to this point. It's sad. Sad is a small word, but everybody can relate to what it means and how it feels. St. Kitts, we would have been boasting of our economy and the way we have bounced back from COVID. We got a double salary in December, unheard of. I mean, civil servants did that. Our tourism industry is second to none. It's the envy of most of the Caribbean islands, and the way how we would have gotten back so quickly. People have visited our shores and can't believe that we were part of a pandemic. The way we handled the pandemic, people would have recognized, and we were the envy of not just the Caribbean, but the world at large, of how we handled the pandemic, and the fact that we could have been doing so many things, the stimulus packages and all those stuff that we were afforded during this time, and we were grateful. People said then, we complimented the government, leadership, good leadership. Those are the people who were complimented because of the way the whole thing was handled. But now we are at a crossroad, sadly. First, for me, this is my understanding, it was two problems. It was a problem of leadership and a problem of fair share. Those were the two problems that first surfaced. It was the fact that Nevis was not getting its fair share, and the other, that Dr. Harris was pursuing a third term. It was assumed that he was pursuing a third term. That, for me, was an easy fix, because it took two things. One, that Dr. Harris would have come out and said to the people, and he would have, that I am not pursuing a third term. Or the other good thing about that, you could have gone into Parliament and you could have passed laws, and that would not have to control that. And that is something that we have been waiting for the longest while, to control the fact that 2 terms were allotted to any prime minister. Electoral reform is something that was campaigned on. We are in year 7 and we are still in the same position. That didn't happen. But for me, it was a government. You have how many people elected and on the government side. And we think that, I think that bill was tabled, but at the end of the day, it wasn't passed because they didn't have the majority. And so that was one of the problems. And it should have been taken again, because now you have a clear majority, but that has not been done yet. And that, for me, it's an issue, because people, this is what has brought us to this. Simple matters, complicated situation. That is the sad part about it. The other one about fair share for Nevis, And the way in which Nevis, according to the Charleston Accord, and this is information I find that changes over time. The Charleston Accord, based on what I would have read, first I thought Nevis was entitled to $15 million per year, I think. Then it went to 30 million, and then it went to 45 million, and then it went up to the last was supposed to be $66 million. Do not quote me on that. I think I'm going based on information that is out there. Like I said, information changes so quickly, you don't know. And that again was not considered as fair share. The proposition was made to the Prime Minister that Nevis needed its fair share. What is the fair share for Nevis? The Prime Minister would have said, then let us do this, because we are going based on assumption. Let us get auditors coming in, neutral ones, and they are going to do their own assessment, and they are going to do their own auditing, and then they would make a decision of what Nevis's fair share is going to be. Because there are a lot of things that you have to take into consideration when you are considering fair share. I'm talking so that the ordinary man could understand, because we don't know the highfalutin language that is spoken. We don't have an understanding of it in the end anyways. So Nevis' fair share would have been, anybody, let's look at us in a family. Me, my sister, and my brother lives in a house. The rent is $400. Normally we split it down in three, because it's three of us. At the end of the day, sometimes you take into consideration who's making the most money, and they would consider that, okay, because I'm making more, I might put a little bit more. Then the electricity, you split it down, we go through the same. So there are conditions on the way in which we split the costs and each payment. So it's a similar situation here. But Nevis is supposed to be contributing a certain amount to the pool, and then they're supposed to be getting their share on a pro rata basis. The question you ask is whether or not what Nevis's contribution is. And I think these are the things that the Prime Minister was trying to ascertain, whether or not what Nevis's contribution would have been and what Nevis' benefit should be. I think that was a good deal. So I thought everything was going to be okay, because this for me is simple matters. And then I saw a letter that's circulating, which is interesting. I find there a lot of circulations, and you question, how can you trust a system when everything is always leaked? And the unfortunate thing about it is that everybody who complains about leakage and trust, they're the ones who are part of it. I am going into another era where we are in a situation like this because of things that was peddled on social media. Everybody has a right to say how they feel. You have a right to criticize if you want. You have a right to condone if you want to, because that is your right. I don't seem to understand why these petty situations would create a situation like this. We are going back to the poll. But I want you guys to know, the ones who are going to make the difference at the poll, have an understanding that this is a government that bringing a motion of no confidence against itself. And at the end of the day, if you don't have confidence in yourself, how are we going to have confidence in you again? Because that's what the situation is. And so I am asking, and for the sake of my children's future and your children's future, we get caught up in party politics. And because we support a party, we do not look at the problems from a non-biased point of view. A lot of us, because of the fact that our parents supported a party, or family support a party, it's something that we carried through our lifetime. I was one of those people My mother was a strong supporter of a particular party, and because of that, the whole family started to follow that party. We overlook a lot of things that was done or the party would have done because at the end of the day, we supported the party, and you can't support a party that you feel is doing wrong. So then all of a sudden, you put on your blinders, and you would not want to believe that is, or it wouldn't seem right to you that you're supporting a party, and in your heart, you know the party is doing wrong things, and yet, especially if you were brought up in a home where morals and principles were taught, then you wouldn't want to be supporting a party that you feel is doing wrong things, yet still it has your support. I remember saying to you that the lines will be open. The numbers you can call is 662-0989, 762-0989, or 465-0989. Those are numbers that you can call if you want to be a part of the program today. If you want to talk and say how you feel and tell us based how your understanding is of what is going on here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the lines are open, so you can call in if you want to. But let's continue the discussion. So, because of the fact that we support parties, not principles, we support parties, and so therefore our party, it doesn't matter whether or not our leader is doing wrong things, we support that. We have seen people who have moved away from the Labour Party because they felt that the Labour Party was going contrary to what they believe in. We have seen people who would have formed the PLP, and they themselves have moved away because they felt that the Prime Minister was moving away from what they intended to. These are information that is put out there for us to hear. We don't have inside information. And for me, propaganda, it is who can propaganda the most are the ones who benefits. And later on, we who have been fooled by the propaganda are the ones who are going to suffer. And that is one of the reasons why I say we have to start to try to find out information, analyze for ourselves. Do not just jump up. And I see $50 making a difference, $150 making a difference, where people are waiting for times like this so that they can benefit. It is more than that. It is our future. We are seeing what is happening in the world today. Talk about natural disasters. I don't know how much you guys are looking. We look at what's happening in Shanghai right now, in China. We have people who are isolated because COVID-19 is still a threat to the world. We see in China fighting now to contain it. We are seeing a rise in the UK, in the European countries. We have seen a rise in cases of COVID. We have seen a rise of cases in America. And we know when this is happening, what is going to happen to the Caribbean, because all borders are open. People are coming. We have tourists who are coming to our shores. We are not as firm as we used to be before. We have let down some of the rules or put down our guards, and so anything can happen at any time now. We have a government that is non-functional as far as we are concerned. We have a cabinet. People say it's functional. I don't know what is dysfunctional and functional when everybody is going against each other. We don't know, and I'm saying if for you to speed up, if you really have a problem with the government that you serve, there are things that you can do. A motion of no confidence, you can resign. You have an understanding of what is happening, so let us stop playing cat and mouse game. Like I said, look at what is happening in the world. You have the war between Russia and Ukraine, and we are feeling the effects of that. There are no foods on the shelf, the ships are not coming in, prices are rising. We have a caller. Let's take this call. Caller, your life on your views. Hello?
Hi, Sandra.
Hey.
Yeah, what's up?
Hi, good.
Long time no speak on this media.
Yeah, long time no speak on this media.
But
yeah.
Yeah. First off, though, you can't start a story in the middle. right? All the accomplishments that you speak of was possible because of the fact that the Team Unity inherited a good economy, right? There was money in the Treasury and the SIDF. There was this cash cow CBI. Gaston Brown, the Prime Minister of Antigua, was the first to point this out, that I can recall, when he got irritated by the Prime Minister Harris's incessant chest beating, okay? And interestingly enough, Premier Brantley noted the same thing, that we can do stuff in St. Kitts because of that CBI. It was no great financial management or fiscal prudence, as you all claim. And secondly, you made it sound like these problems just arose, when in fact we know that they have been ongoing even in the first term. You know, for instance, that his colleagues were dissatisfied with him since the whole Verdi story broke. I'm sure you heard of attempts then to replace him. And it continued after the 2020 elections, where the Prime Minister held on by the skin of his teeth, okay? And that, I think, is why Sean Richards feels so deceived, because it was really through him that that Prime Minister Harris is still in office today. Everybody who the Prime Minister engages seems to have a problem with him. Pam did when he was part of the Labour administration. Labour administration did also when he left them and divided the party. His own PLP executive, the first one, had a problem with him. And now his colleagues in his administration have a problem with him.
Okay.
But if everybody got a problem with you, the problem got to be you, not them.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because you're calling. So I want to I want it to be, because that is your opinion. So let me ask you a question, though. We are talking about a problem and problems. What is the problem? Let's go back. You said from the beginning.
Yeah.
We had a situation you say you have to start from the beginning. So we had a situation where we said they would have inherited CBI money and SIDF money. There was money left in the Treasury. Okay, they would have inherited, because don't make it just look at the money. They would have inherited a situation where we were in the hands of the IMF. Then we were swapping our lands for debt.
Right.
VAT, we had taxes rising, electricity prices has been rising, and they have inherited those things too. It's not just money in the Treasury. Now we are out of the hands of the IMF. We are buying back the land. Some of the lands have been bought back. VAT was removed, according to them, in the first stage. So, and the country was still running well. Okay?
But remember that debt was already on the way down. As a matter of fact, that land for debt swap is what brought our debt to GDP ratio way down. It was not the Team Unity government that did that. We were already ahead on our payments to the repayment to the IMF.
You talk about you're swapping.
Okay, you're a businesswoman, Sandra.
Yeah.
If you have lots of cash in the bank, right, and you have lots of debt as well, do you just take that cash and wipe out the debt?
Yeah, because I'm looking from a small business standpoint. Why would I go to the bank, incur more interest? I already have high debt. Why would I go to the bank for a loan, incur more interest, and have so much money sitting on it? What's the purpose of having money sitting in the bank and you have all...
The purpose of having money sitting in the bank, Sandra, is that you can get sick the next day.
What's sick?
And wipe out all of that.
I have an insurance.
If you
an
want to
insurance.
buy a car, let's say.
I have an insurance.
You have $100,000 in the bank.
Okay.
And you want to buy a car, right? Does it make sense to use $100,000 in your bank, your life savings in your bank, to buy the car, when you could pay down, whether it's 10, 15, 20%, and service that debt?
No, but then listen to me. Now, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would not buy a car for $100,000 when I only have $100,000 in the bank. I would look at a car for $25,000 because then I could afford. You see, you have to start looking at what you can afford to do and what you cannot afford to do. At the end of the day, we have to look at life in this way. Why would I want to keep all this money sitting in the bank when the interest rate is less than the one that you're going to pay if you take a loan? I
But
can't
you
seem
can
to
service it. Once
service
you, the
it.
problem
How?
Everybody
Service is how when
gets
nothing
into
is
debt
coming
at
in.
some point in their life,
Uh-huh.
right? What is important, as you pointed out, is that you don't go extend yourself beyond your means.
Exactly.
Make sure you can service the debt. Okay?
But the fact that we're going to the
how many people you
IMF,
know can buy a house cash?
huh?
How many people you know can buy a house cash?
You'll be surprised.
Okay,
I
the
know a
market.
lot. I know a lot.
Really?
I know a lot. I know
You
a
have
lot of
some big
people who
friends,
just let's not go down that road. Let's stick to the point here.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. At the end of the day, it's about having an understanding of not overextending yourself. And that is one of the things that we saw in the previous administration. The people were suffering. When you reach to the point where where you have to impose taxes on poor people, that becomes a problem with your government. And that is where I think that was the breaking point. You're taking away our patrimony. We have no access to that. And then you're imposing taxes on us. I mean, how are we going
to... It has not been reversed, Sandra.
Huh?
So if it has not been reversed, it means that it was good policy.
What has not been reversed?
They know what that policy, what was the intention behind that policy. If it were a case that they didn't know, they would have just reversed it, and then our debt to GDP ratio would have gone way back up. Isn't that so?
If I don't go based on assumptions, and I can't see in the future.
No, but
hindsight is 2020.
The Prime Minister boasts about the debt to GDP ratio being so low.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it was so low because of the land for debt swap. Okay? It was basically an accounting trick, I would say, because, I mean, you still owe the money to somebody, to, let's say, National Bank. Well, you can argue that we own National Bank.
And interest rates are high then.
Is debt for ourselves, we borrow money from ourselves, essentially, our mortgage, the land from a bank that we own, right? Uh-huh. But that is the point I was making.
Okay, and we're going on and on that point. Let's go back to the Prime Minister and relationships. Yeah. Okay, what was the problem that the Prime Minister had with his previous administration? Why was he fired from government?
With the previous administration? Pretty much the same things as before. He was against the land for debt swap, which I think is hypocrisy because, like I said, he hasn't reversed it. You know that if I perish thing. And interestingly enough, he wanted to be Prime Minister as quickly as possible as well.
That's an assumption.
You know? And Douglas was not prepared to relinquish that. Just pretty much, there's so many parallels between what is happening now.
I don't want you to say that, though. This is what we've been doing. We have been saying things without proper reasoning. I want to have a reason. I want to see a clear-cut reason why, not based on assumption. And that is what has been happening. We have been assuming a lot of things, and
like
you
what?
are...
What have we been assuming?
Okay. Tell me, and I ask you again, what was the reason? Give me a clear reason why Dr. Harris was fired from the previous administration.
Told you that he wanted to be Prime Minister.
No, that was not the reason.
He wanted to be Prime Minister, and Douglas was not prepared to just hand it over to him.
And so Douglas fired him because of that?
Well, why do you think he fired him?
No, because he went in and he was against certain policies that was going to affect the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Be honest.
So then how come he has not reversed them?
What hasn't he reversed?
You realize that all through the first term and up to now, right? The policies, the major policies have remained unchanged. What new have they brought to the table? What big new investment has come in? None. Because the policies that were there before, in the administration that he was part of, mind you, right? Well, generally good policies.
You are talking, and you're not answering the question. Stop going around. Stop going around. I asked the question. Okay, let's move on.
If you're a Prime Minister, Sandra,
Yeah,
if you're a Prime Minister,
no.
somebody walks into your office, one of your colleagues want to walk into your office demanding that you hand over power to them. Pretty much like what is happening now. Okay? They're demanding that the Prime Minister be removed. Okay? If you do that, what kind of reaction would you expect?
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, some people are saying no, that if these guys, meaning Brantley and Sean, and the rest who signed the motion, well, not who signed the motion, because I think it's only Sean signed it, but who wants to remove him as Prime Minister, if they were serious,
they would have resigned.
They would all resign as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Not wait to be fired, because some people are saying that the Prime Minister should fire them.
Okay.
And bring things to a head.
Okay.
Right? So I'm showing you the exact parallel.
It is going down the same. But let's go back again, because we want to see. Now he went out and he formed his PLP party, and some of them turned against him. Why?
You mean his colleagues?
Yeah, his colleagues. Yeah, PLP colleagues.
But he left them no choice. He left.
Why? I'm asking why.
No choice.
Why? What did he do?
Because he was encroaching on their territory, so to speak.
No, I'm talking about the PLP. No, I'm not talking about unity yet.
The Prime Minister is making moves.
We're not talking about unity yet.
To PAM.
No, we're not.
I'm sure, Sandra, you've heard supporters of PAM saying that they are going to stick with Harris regardless.
Why?
I'm sure
Why?
For whatever reason.
Whatever reason. Come on, Ira. Let's have a good debate here, no man. People are listening to us. We want to help people to have a better understanding. I don't believe in defaming people's character without proper reasoning, and so I'm trying to see what is the reason, because I don't want to support somebody who has a shady history, a shady past. So I'm asking, and I don't want to go based on assumptions. I want information so that I can sit down myself and make my own assessment. So I'm asking you. We gone too far with unity. Let's go about the PLP. The PLP party that he formed, and his previous administration, they left him. Why? Mm-hmm. Why?
And I've told you. So you don't believe that they are really trying to weaken PAM?
Who?
The PLP.
PLP weakening PAM? How?
Yes.
How? PAM is in power. They're taking the supporters. Listen, people gravitate to people who can help. You all have to understand that this thing.
And by the way, I heard you and Weeks on a program, and I didn't like the tone of it, because the tone was essentially this political patronage system that we have. That is the way it is.
What are you talking about?
And if people can give you a little pittance, then you should be satisfied with that and vote for them.
Nobody's talking about. You see, that's what you all believe in. No, but then you're being unfair, though, Ira. Listen, people are not talking about pittance. People are talking about their life situation, not what you get under the table. We are talking about policies that have been put in place so that poor people can benefit. What pittance you're talking about? Everybody does this nonsense that I'm totally against. Huh?
Let's consider the PAP then.
PAP.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And the peace program.
Do you think?
And
don't you realize that over 5,000 people on PAP is a failure of the government to deliver the kind of opportunities that would really empower people?
Do you understand?
I'm sure you would prefer to see people do like you and become a businesswoman, a successful businesswoman, as opposed to getting a handout from government.
But listen to this. PAP is
That's the point.
But listen to this. PAP is a transition into, and what is not happening in PAP. Listen. Let me tell you what is not happening in PAP.
No.
Okay, can I talk? Because you're bringing up things. So let me talk. PAP is supposed to help you to transition. And that is what the program was supposed to be. And there are a lot of people on PAP who should not be on PAP. There are people on PAP who are working. I am telling you, there are people on PAP who are working. I have spoken, because that's what I do. I've spoken to people who would have managed people coming on and going off. And 8 especially, number 8, constituency number 8, I was told, what do you do is that when you bring people on PAP, so when people are complaining that they can't bring on any new people on PAP, It's simply because that when you bring people on PAP, you're supposed to be able to manage the program. So when these people would have gotten a job, they're supposed to be off. But what they're not doing, they're not managing the program properly. So there are people who are who getting PAP for me is a bonus because who would have brought them on did not manage, or there's no proper management of the system. So there are people on there who should not be on there. So you can't look at
Exactly.
5,000 as
And
a
vice
figure.
versa.
Right, and I have a problem. There's some people out there who should be on PAP, but because you have people there who should not be there, that is a problem. So my thing is, instead of arguing about getting people on the
wasn't
program,
that, Sandra?
Huh?
You realize that that was one of the issues that Sean Richards in particular brought to the fore. Basically saying
and
he
that
can't
was for
put
me is
people
one
on
of the
PAP.
most hilarious as
He
a
said the
deputy
same
prime
thing. He can't
minister.
put people on PAP.
Huh?
Politicians should not be putting people on PAP. If it's a government program, run it like a transparent-
Exactly.
right. But
Exactly.
we
You
did not have the infrastructure in the first place to do it, right? And it was basically gimmickry.
Okay, cool.
You
So
didn't
that's
have the infrastructure in place to run it like, let's say, a social welfare program, okay? And so obviously it's going to be abused, and that is the thing. And that is the thing I find with a lot of team unity policies. Basically, they are well-intentioned, They are well-intentioned. As Grant pointed out, for instance, the Peace Initiative was well-intentioned. But where's the transparency? I'm sure that
How you
it's
mean,
being
where's the
abused. I'm sure there
transparency?
are people at the top creaming off things from that, and the people down below are getting,
See,
again, I use the word
again,
chicken.
this is based on assumption, and this is one of the reasons why
Well,
we need
if it were open-
transparency
if it
and
was an open
accountability.
transparent government,
Yes.
we would not have to assume.
Okay, cool. And so this is one of the problems I come back down to, where we are in a situation like this now because the Prime Minister asked for people to be accountable for monies that have been seriously mismanaged. That became a problem. We're going to bring in auditors and we're going to audit. Let's start from the CBI program. Let's bring in an auditor and we're going to audit. We're going to see how much monies we have and we're going to see how it's going to be shared. That became a problem. They don't want it that way. Okay, you go to the Prime Minister, you want more money. And that's something I don't understand because you hear them say it. Oh, when he never says no, we go to him and he always give. That was a year and something ago. And he always give. That is not how government is run. You have to be
Exactly.
accountable. You have a
Because As
budget.
far as you know, the pie is $588 million, and you only get in 45.
But
Is that fair?
but then what is your contribution to the pie though?
Well, if the pie comes from the sale of a St. Kitts Nevis passport, you're asking what is your contribution?
No. Listen, you talk about Davis is talking about a benefit that they're not getting based on a pro rata point. The CBI was not done according to the Charleston Accord. It was not on a pro rata basis. We can go back to
CBI?
that. We can go back to
Wasn't
it
it
was
just
it was. Let me
revenue?
tell you based on what, and I don't want to talk about him because he's dead. Based on the discussion that I had with Mr. Amri, he said the situation was such that when they had the discussion first, they were told you cannot get a set amount every month. It is based on sales. So sometimes you can get a lot and sometimes you can get a little bit. And they came to the conclusion, okay, give us a lump sum. That lump sum was working until Mr. Emery was out of office. Then things started to change. But on the
No,
agreement,
you don't get that
on the
impression.
agreement, and we have to be
Remember he said
fair.
that these things were raised with the Prime Minister a long time ago. And
How long is the time?
Huh?
How long time? What's long time?
Long time in
But we have we've had the debates.
Brantley said he kept keeping quiet about that because you're to use his example, you're in a marital relationship and things are not going right, but you want it to work, so you stay.
Ira,
Right?
give
That's
me
what
a
he said,
break. That is nonsense. Let me tell you something, Ira, and let me tone it down a bit. Ira, we have looked and listened to the same Mark Brantley speaking on at conventions and platforms in 2020, and they talk it was the best. They were getting it's the best
just
Nevis
told
has
you
ever
right.
benefited. And they've been saying these things, and now later on you're going back and you're going to say otherwise. How can we trust you? You have a budget.
Well,
They just had a
agree.
budget debate.
You can't trust somebody like that.
We had a
But you
budget
also can't
debate.
trust somebody who tries to undermine you at every turn.
Okay, cool. We're gonna go back one by one. Let's just not just mix it up because people want to know this. And you just had a budget debate in December. It was good. It was fine and good. And you're talking about 7 years of problems, and you are debating and saying how good it is and how praise this, and so you're hypocritical. So how
No,
can
but
we
you heard
how
the
can we the
truth.
people trust you when you come out and you say everything is so good? Just like you can't trust the prime minister because you have your issues. How can we trust you when you gave us the impression that everything was good, and then all of a sudden now you're saying for 7 years you've been having issues?
I am in total agreement with you. You can't trust them.
Exactly.
Right? But I gave you his. I was just giving you his explanation.
Okay, cool.
And you know that these are things that happen.
Okay.
People stay in an unsavory relationship because they work out. It's more beneficial.
No,
for
when you
them
have a
to stay.
majority. Not when you have a majority. No way. I am going to stay in a relationship with my husband because he supports me. No, I'm just saying because that's not a fact. But I would stay in a relationship because I'm supported. When we are going, you contribute and I contribute. Hell no. But providing that he supported me and I'm happy, whatever he wants to do out there, that is his business. But when I have to contribute, no way, no how. I'm not going to stay in an abusive relationship. Some of us stay in it because of our children. But again, if he alone looking after the children, fine. But when I have to contribute in looking after my children, hell no. So you people can make those silly comparisons. That is nonsense. We are living in a world today where we take things because we are benefiting as an individual. It is not for the sake of others. And this is what you're having a problem. I would love to get to the bottom of this problem. I would love to have an understanding of why you said, okay, let's look at this.
Sandra, you know what I've been advocating about from the start.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that if they had implemented the good governance agenda,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these problems would not have been there.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is
It's
true.
only now they're belatedly realizing that they should have.
Yeah, because they were
Okay.
benefiting. Why you think they wouldn't put it in? Why you wouldn't think they won't put in integrity in public
Why
life?
Prime
Because
Minister
then,
Harris wouldn't put it there,
Huh?
wouldn't advance it too?
huh?
Why wouldn't Prime Minister Harris advance it as
Okay,
well?
why? And
Let me
I
tell you
understand that, but why are you're in a government. The prime minister is only one person. No, you
you
have
know he's
and you
not
say
the
he's in
power.
a minority. You are a majority. If you had a problem and you felt that the people were affected, why didn't you come out and talk long time? Why are you waiting now because you are affected? Hear what I asked, and I said it again. When I heard first, it was the prime ministership that was in jeopardy. And then it was the CBI money. So for me, it was power and money. It had nothing to do with the people. You understand me? It was not about programs that should have been implemented. It wasn't about how the people were treated. It was about them. We can't hide that. So at the end of the day, when they were not satisfied, not that the people were not satisfied, when they were not satisfied, they had a problem.
But you realize there are no devils and angels here.
Of
All
course
them
not.
devils. From Prime Minister down.
Of course not.
Right?
They know
Because
everybody
he-
the prime
he
minister
is
would have made
doing
some
things-
mistakes.
He is doing things to listen, there's no other Caribbean country that you can point to where a prime minister has so many of siblings and cronies in key governmental
Give me
positions.
a break. Let's look at Antigua, which is just there. Husband and wife, ministers of government, one in land and one in finance.
many of
What
them?
are you talking
How
about?
many of them?
But listen, but these were these family members were employed not when he was the prime minister.
It does not matter.
How you mean it does not matter? These people are people who are
It does
qualified.
not matter
Come
because
on,
It
Ira.
does not matter.
Ira,
You forget
okay.
that Pam.
Okay.
You forget that Pam criticized the Labour administration for that very same thing.
And Pam accepted it for 7 years. Let me ask you a question. So these people are qualified. So because their brother or their cousin or their sibling, their siblings is in government, what should they do? Sit down home and let him do what? Take money from our kitty and support them? No, you're being ridiculous. Stop being ridiculous.
I expect them to.
They're qualified.
They're so qualified, etc. They can easily find other jobs.
But they don't want to. They have a choice.
I always refer to it. You're a businesswoman. If you are running a business, right? Would you want your one, not your family? If it's your family, your private business, that's fine. But I'm talking about well-run public corporation, banks, and those things. Why you think that they have regulations against this very same thing?
But listen, why you think they have regulations there? So it doesn't matter who you put there. It's there. It's regulated. If
No, no, no. That's the whole point. The regulation states, essentially, that you don't have, if you were running an accounting department, you don't have your family members there, you know.
I will.
That's the thing. It's the key areas. Look at the judiciary, the civil service.
And who hired them?
law
But they were
enforcement.
there. They were there
Huh?
before the prime minister became
Bank,
prime
the
minister.
financial services. No, I could put my head on the block that nowhere else in the Caribbean you have it to this
I
extent.
told you already.
forget
Start
the
from
word
going
making noise.
Antigua. Every place in the world. Look at the
hold
problem
on.
with
You
with
forget-
Biden
you
and his
forget-
son in American
forget-
politics. Look at
You
wait.
forget that when Douglas put his
His
the
baby
mother of his
mama.
children in Dubai. You forget the uproar that we had, and that was one person. Huh?
Huh?
And you want to tell me that now that the shoe is on the other foot, it's okay?
But I said to you, they were not employed by the prime minister. They were employed by the previous administration. So when the prime minister go in there, he should fire them.
The opposition then objected to.
But then they
rightly.
didn't change it. Let's move off because we're just going
Exactly.
around in circles with that one. The next situation that we have, because I want to hear your. I still want to prove where the prime minister would have gone so wrong while we are at this junction, where the country has to suffer because people want to satisfy their own personal interests. That is where we are at right now. It's people.
And you're talking about assumptions, eh?
Yeah.
You assumed it was that.
Why?
You assumed that
But
it's
it was
that.
said.
It's
It was
okay for
no.
you
It's
to
an
assume
assumption.
that, but not for somebody else to assume.
No. That was not.
ulterior motives on the part
No,
of
no,
the Prime
no.
Minister.
That was not an assumption. It was said. It was said.
That
That was
they were
initially the
benefiting
problem,
themselves
that
and
the
the people?
prime minister did not want to condemn a person for making a speech about a third term. Again, look at the letter. And by 2023, you would have to relinquish whether or not you give a man 2 terms, but in the middle of his second term, you have to relinquish your power or your prime ministership to somebody else so that they can practice being a prime minister. And it's all written there. We are becoming blind because we
Yeah, but
want
then
we do not
take
like
the
somebody you want to.
elements from that
Huh?
document. You don't take some elements that suit you and is
But Lord, I
convenient
can't
from
take
that
all.
document, and
As
then
I mean,
ignore
we're
the
showing
others.
undone.
Huh?
I'm showing undone if I can take all. I'm just looking at the key points. I'm looking at the key points. Okay? The key points are such this. I am not going to highlight others because I can't see you as a deputy prime minister in office and the other one as a foreign minister and a premier of Nevis who hold those kind of high position could allow one man to do all of this when you have a clear majority. Why now? But you see,
Reminds
at
you
the
of
end of the
20
day,
man, a 10 man in one, right?
huh?
It reminds you of 10 man in one, isn't it?
No, I'm not going to go down that road. I don't even want to. I'm not going. But I don't understand. What first one man was 10 man, and now one man again. So there's something clearly wrong.
But you see the problem that we have in now.
Yes.
That they want to remove him and can't.
How you mean they can't
That's
move
the whole
him?
point. The prime minister.
You have 21 days.
The prime minister has enormous power.
Well, but why they didn't change that
Huh?
when they went
And
in?
if you think Timothy Harris, who is a predatory political animal,
Stop it.
is gonna have power and not use it, you got another thing coming.
Well, listen. Let me tell you one of the good things.
They're trying to remove him.
Let me tell you one of the good things about
All
it,
of
though.
them are trying to remove him in Sanja, and they're not being successful.
But let me
What
tell
call
you one of the good things that I like about Timothy Harris and his and unity. The country, poor
You
people.
mentioning that word?
Unity?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we voted. That's what I voted for. It's not over yet. And I don't know if I want it to continue because trust is a factor and I have a problem with that. So I definitely would like to go back to the poll. And because I want to definitely, this time I know I'm going to vote for. Because people have to prove themselves. You know, it's just the hypocrisy behind the whole thing.
They don't
In
have to prove
2020,
themselves. The thing about government people right now is that they have a record. they have a record.
A good
So
record,
all
a
these
track
things
record.
that are coming out now, that's information for the voters to make up a decision, to make their decision on.
Yeah.
Just like you said they can't be trusted, I agree, they can't be trusted, right? I know what to do in a case like that, okay? But the crux of the matter, Sandra, 6 months after the 2015 election, the Prime Minister was on a program, and I asked him, what about the good governance agenda? And his reply, nobody gonna crack my whip for Team Unity. Well, this is what you get as a result.
But then why we are highlighting? Then we have a bunch of weaklings outside of the Prime Minister. Then, so what are the other guys in there for? You have cabinet every week, and you're gonna tell me that at no point in time good governance became an issue in there, and
I raised that with Brantley, on his show, and he says, "How I know that it is not."
Give me a break, those babies. Give me a break.
I'm telling you what he said.
Give me a break. They were benefiting, all of them. You see, I am on Win FM and not on Facebook. I have to remember that. And so there's certain things that I see that I can't say. But let's look at the facts, because nobody can challenge me on what is out there. We have a situation. I listened to Pam Convention too. And this is a message to Mr. Richards, because Mr. Brantley also said that the Nevis Accord said that there's 2 terms for the Prime Minister, but it didn't go on to say who should be the next Prime Minister. That again is another issue. We have seen this coming through. Everybody, why does everybody wants to be Prime Minister? What is there? Is it
Power,
and money? Money and power. So at the end of the day, nobody wants to go in to serve the people. People wants to go in so that they can control the money and the power.
In a sense, Sandra, that's on us, it's really
exactly. So then now, I understand now, because trust me, I used to talk politics, but I was a novice. Now that I've really sat down and started to analyze, hey, nobody can beat me on politics. I have a good idea of what the people. It's a pity, because I want the voters to have the same information that I have. Politicians, at the end of the day, they are who they are. We're seeing that. Everybody's fighting for power and money. What's happening to the people? We're the ones who put you in there, and a lot of us still don't have jobs. And I can boast that I'm not even on one board, as much as you guys would say. I can boast that, because I'm not interested in that.
They say you'll get remunerated other ways.
People can base on assumptions. I see pictures of my land that I paid, and I go. This is the way it is done.
I heard Brantley last Wednesday say, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, or your partner in cancer crime, but whatever, weeks ago. But he actually said somebody who don't even have the basic qualifications to be a civil servant is making $7,000 just to cuss him.
Oh, that is so. That is the pettiness. That is. I don't listen to.
Go on. Go to that program.
Well, it could not mean me, for sure.
Okay.
It could not have meant me. That is definitely number one. I am very well qualified. 2, I'm not getting $7,000 a month from no government to cuss nobody. And let me tell you all something. Nobody can pay me to cuss anybody. You can pay me to stop. But my decision.
They can pay you to stop?
They could pay me to stop cussing, but I choose to cuss for free.
That is not good. That is not
no,
good
but then
either.
you're saying if I want to do it, it's something I want to do, and you want me to stop doing it against my will, then definitely you have to come with something.
No, that is not a good look.
Why not?
Because that is the basis of the pay for peace.
Pay for
Basically
peace.
stopping people.
But listen, let me tell you.
From engaging in criminal activity.
Listen, I have an opinion.
The underlying thing is that they have the propensity to engage in criminal activity, and that is not good. Mm-hmm. You want to draw them away
from it.
From it. Okay.
Well, it's the same.
And so what you want to do is not forever, just like the PAP, not forever have them on government dole.
They have to wean them off after a while. So then
wean them off of it.
Yeah. So when they would have benefited, then they can wean me. But let me tell you something. It is the pettiness of these ministers that I have a problem with.
I mean, really petty. I mean, I criticize them all the time.
I used to.
I could never in my wildest dreams imagine that this was what was bubbling under the surface.
Petty.
I mean,
things.
this is like a primary school tussle.
Exactly.
Petty.
Let me. I said one day I sat down home in my bed and I said I never believe in my wildest dreams at any point in time Ira and I would be seeing through the same lens when you write certain things, and I don't like it though, Ira, honestly, because you're bitter.
You see, the thing
you have a bitter streak in you.
Notice that just like you, I write under my own name.
Oh, yeah.
And I write expecting to be contradicted.
Okay.
The problem that those who try to rebut me,
don't have information.
They have is that they can.
Okay. Just like
because I speak from facts. The most they do is get personal. You see them all the time.
That is true. That is so true.
You know how they get personal.
Yeah, but unlike this morning that you still don't have your facts, you and I still have to have this debate because I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see how bad the prime minister is, how you have assassinated his character, and nobody can seem to bring the information. Nepotism. Who wouldn't look after their family? Who?
There is a right and a wrong way to look after your family, Sandra.
Tell me.
This is the wrong way.
Okay.
I've explained to you that well-run companies, well-run government don't have these. There's a reason why most progressive governments have laws in place against this.
Oh, well, I don't know
because they know it is bad.
But then
don't tell me that how you expect the Prime Minister not to look
But look, the Prime Minister doesn't have any family member in government. Look at what is happening in Antigua. You have the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Lands, husband and wife. You see that all over the place. It's not just one place. So I don't understand why you all want to ostracize him.
Wait, hold on. And that's another thing that I noticed with you.
What?
Right? It's almost like you say, two wrongs make a right.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
that
there's no policy for that.
To justify
no, I'm not justifying it,
but pointing to other people wrongdoing.
No. But I'm saying, how can you say somebody's wrong when there's no policy against it? There's no policy that says that you can't here. There's nothing in place that says you cannot hire your brother and sister. So he's not going against anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You talk about ethics, which is unethical and not moral.
But you see, there is and that is what is killing us right now. There's the letter and the spirit of the law. If you know something is wrong ethically or just isn't decent, why would you do it?
But I'm asking you the question.
And integrity comes,
And I'm saying to you, these guys are qualified. We are running out of time, Ira, and I would want to, next Friday, I'm going to open the lines just for you to call in again. These guys are qualified. It is unfair. I mean, I'm not saying that they're perfect because there's certain things that they do.
They get in advance of other people who are equally qualified.
But
are they better qualified than other people?
But like I said, they were there before the brother became the prime minister.
But people railed against that when they were there before.
But you're going to rail against
you'd think that,
but they didn't change it.
They promised to fix all the things that were wrong from what had gone before. That they would have tried to do something about it.
And what would have they done? What would have they done about that situation, though? Let's talk about it because we're just talking. What would they have done with a situation like that?
They're so well qualified. You honestly feel that they could not make it in St. Kitts without being on government payroll?
But that's their choice. If I chose to be, there are lawyers who are lawyers and they chose to work for government because that is what they want to. There are doctors who are doctors who choose to work for government because they want to. They could work for themselves.
Sandra, the fact that your brother or uncle or cousin or whatever is the prime minister should not factor in as a qualification.
Ira, you and
There
I are
should
going to
be
differ
other
on
things,
that.
and these kinds of things should be at arm's length.
Okay, we are out of time, and you and I can talk on and on, and you
Yeah.
cannot prove me wrong in any way. You're muddling up still. I'm still waiting for facts.
No, it all goes back. There's no muddling up,
okay.
It all goes back
To
the good governance agenda.
good governance agenda.
And I'm glad that you admitted if the good governance agenda had been pursued.
Yes, if all
would
of them,
not
all of
have
them in
been
there.
in
The
this
11,
position.
the 4, the 3, and the 2. If the 9 of them would have come together and they really, really, really wanted this good governance agenda and integrity in public life before they start to line their own pockets and enrich themselves, this would have been done. But it's obvious it was beneficial to them. It's not about the people, it's about them. Let's agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. That's
yeah,
all I want to agree
yeah.
on.
They don't get off scot-free.
Thank you.
They have as much to blame for what is happening now.
I appreciate-
no question about that.
I appreciate
all
that.
of them, and that is why I say all of them should go.
Okay, today
right?
you and
I keep saying change governments until you
find the right one. That would
Yes.
be every 2 years. Let me tell you, Ira, today
Well,
you and I would have renewed.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, today
at least they only have two years
To make a
up
mess?
and do the kind of grabbing that you claim.
Well, let me tell you
Right?
something, and I can
But
trust
could
me on
you
this one.
imagine-
Trust me on this
Could you
one.
imagine 5, 10, 15 years?
Well,
how much damage can be done
Well,
to
let
our
me-
country?
That's the whole thing. Well, I can
So
assure
change
you.
them. Change them. If they mess up, those who go and mess up, you change them too. Simple.
Definitely. Anyway, we have to go. I definitely have to go because then Win FM is going to
Yes,
get me
fine.
off, and
Nice talking to you.
I would have a problem. It was a pleasure. You have and I have renewed our friendship. You're my good friend from today. It is
Oh,
Friday.
boy. Talk about the kiss of death.
Oh.
You have people after me now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it's Friday. It's the weekend. It's a long weekend. It's the it's May Day. Monday is coming up. Labor Day. It's the March time. We are going to start to assess. Election is in the air. We're going to start to make some assessment, see who is where, and we can assume, we can, come to certain conclusion who's where, who the people are believing in, and where the people are going, where they're gravitating to. So everybody's going to want to have a big crowd. But let me tell you something. We have to also remember that COVID-19 is still a reality. We are in chaos, and I pray to God that we don't have an outbreak. So I would ask you guys to be careful, continue wearing your mask, washing your hands, social distancing. Don't know how you're going to do it when there's a crowd, but we have to start looking after ourselves, because if we don't look after ourselves, nobody else is going to do it. My name is Sandra Quilly Atherton. It was a pleasure being here. It's a beautiful day on the outside. Stay tuned to Win FM 98.9. Voices is up next.
Me no know what them a talk about. When them say it's mad, when everywhere in the world have problems.